Good morning, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's live. My name is Sherry Ruff. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada, and I am excited to be here today to share with you another one sheet wonder. So I love one sheet wonders when I need to create lots of cards. They are just my go-to. It's perfect for using whatever you have in your stash. Um, and just creating a bunch of cards. So today I'm going to share what I am going to be using. However, you do not need to have what I am using to take inspiration from the cards that I share today. Use these ideas and use products from your stash. Grab one piece of 12 by 12 double-sided pattern paper that you love, and I'll share a little bit more about that when I share the one that I'm going to be using. Um, if you've got some coordinating ephemera, or if you've got a paper pack that has die cut elements, grab that. Um, some coordinating twine or ribbon. I always love to incorporate a little bit of fibers on my projects because I feel like it steps up your cards. These are really simple cards, but by doing simple things like that and adding maybe some embellishments, you can really step up the look of your cards. Okay, so let me share what I'm going to be using. I am going to be using the Banner Sains dies or bundle, sorry. So this has it's got great greetings in here that can be used for lots of different occasions. So that's one of the things that I look for when I buy a greeting set is something that is very versatile, something where I will use most of the greetings that are in a set. Um, Oftentimes there are gorgeous sets out there, which sometimes I will purchase, and then I find that the greetings in them are not greetings that I would necessarily use, or there's, one or two greetings that they're really, they will really only work with like one or two people. So I always love sets where there's lots of greetings that I will use. So in here you've got you are loved, consider yourself hugged, wishing you good things, happy birthday, you did it, I'm here for you, thanks a million, sending you love, celebrate, cue the confetti, here's to you. I can't thank you enough. You're the sweetest. I'm so grateful. I would use all of those greetings. So this is a great set. And I love that there is a coordinating punch. Now, you don't have to get the punch. You can just buy the stamp set because these shapes are easy enough to cut yourself. You can cut strips of cardstock or pattern paper and then flag the ends. So this is just something to make things quick and easy. And I do love that. However, I think at the moment, at least yesterday when I checked, this punch is currently unavailable. So it was obviously a popular choice recently. All right, so that's the stamp set and the punch that I'm going to be using. And then the paper I am using is called Hobby Haven. I believe that's what it's called. Let me just double check. Um, yeah, Hobby Haven. And it is this fun paper that kind of has like hobby themed patterns on one side. So here, if you're into like makeup and face care, skincare, that kind of thing. Here we've got for our sewers or knitters, crocheters, you've got that. You've got your plant lovers here. You've got your, bakers or chefs here, and then you've got your readers. So I love that there's something kind of for everyone in here, and then the back sides are just kind of generic patterns, and I love these kinds of paper packs where these just make the paper so versatile. So in addition, you can see here that there's only 5 sheets because the 6th sheet is oh, there's a little peek at the cards here. Yeah, is this die cut sheet. So you get two of these in a package. So some of these are all popped out here, but you get some ephemera or die cut elements that work with the paper. So there's some that are kind of plant themed. There's some for the readers. There's some for the kitchen, like the bakers, and then there's some for the crafters as well. And then there's some that would kinda you can you kinda use for anything. All right, and I love paper packs like this. I was so excited when Stampin' Up! Started carrying paper packs like this because They really make for quick and easy projects. They're great for scrapbooking because you don't have to stamp all these elements. You can just create your own little clusters. And they're great for card makers as well. So we're going to use these to embellish our cards. So I'm going to slide this aside here because I'm going to use some of those elements. And this is the pattern that I'm going to choose for today. So I'm going to use this side, but I'm also going to use this side. All right. And you can see that this side is directional, and that's completely fine for this. If you want to choose something for from your stash, if one side is directional, then that is fine. I will show you how to cut that. I designed these cards so that you can do that. It does help if the two sides look really good together. So one, you can see that this is a little bit busier and then this is a little bit easier to use. And if I were to combine the two, they work really, really well together. If you had two busy patterns, one on one side and one on the other, that would be a little trickier. But I think for the most part, manufacturers keep that in mind when they're designing two-sided papers. All right. The other things that I have is I have a coordinating ink pad. I'm going to be using Secret C. So just the one ink pad, again, keeping it simple because the whole point of a one sheet wonder is to make lots of cards and have them simple. And then I've got some coordinating fibers. So I'm going to be using this petal pink braided trim. um, there is petal pink in here, so it coordinates nicely. This actually is on the last chance list. I'm so sad. I love the texture that this adds, and I'll share a couple different ways that you can use it. So you can use it obviously like this, but I'm going to share a couple different ways that you can use that. And then I dug into my stash for some petal pink embellishments. So these are now retired. These are called the low profile dots. So I just looked through my stash to find something that had a coordinating color and chose these. Um, Another great thing about One Sheet Wonders is look at what you've got in your stash because you're making lots of kind of the same colored projects. So look at what you've got lots of and try to use some of that up. All right. Okay. So that is what I'm using. I did throw in a little bit of vellum as well. So you'll see that and I'll explain what I'm doing. Now, what I'm using that for as I come to it. Now, the other thing is I am using our note cards and envelopes for four of the projects, and then three of the projects are standard size cards. So standard size cards are 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 folded. So half of a sheet of 8 1/2 by 11. Um, Now, if you don't have note cards and envelopes, so these note cards and envelopes are, I should just share the size, 3 1/2 by 5. Um, Folded. That's what the measurement that they would be. You can take these ideas and you can use them on a full size card. So the first four that I make, I will make on note cards and envelopes, but then I'm going to show you how you can take the same designs and put them onto a standard size card as well. So if you don't do note cards and envelopes or don't have them on hand, um, then that's fine. I just love to use note cards and envelopes when I make lots of cards because they're quick and easy. They come in a package of 20, they're pre-cut, pre-scored for you. It just saves a lot of time. So that's why I like to turn to those. Okay, so now we're going to take our paper and we're going to cut it. So I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer. And if your paper is directional, you want to rotate it so that the top of your paper is on the left-hand side. Okay. All right. And we are going to cut it at 4 1/2 inches. So even if you're not doing note cards and envelopes, you still want to cut the same way, because you can easily take what I do on a note card and envelope and just put that onto a regular size card. Okay, now this strip, we're going to rotate it and we're going to cut it at 3 inches. And we're going to cut it at 3 inches for all the way across. So three, three again, three again, so that you have four pieces that measure 3 inches across by 4 1/2 tall. Okay. And then this piece we're going to put in, we're going to line it up at the 4 1/2 inch mark again. So again, the top is on the left. if your paper is directional. So 4.5 inches, and we're going to cut it into four 3-inch pieces again. Okay, so three, 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 and three. Okay. Now this leftover piece, what we're going to do, so now I've got the top at the top, and I'm going to cut it at 3.25 inches, and then I'm going to rotate it, and I'm going to cut it into three 1-inch strips. Okay. So we've got three 1-inch strips. I'm just going to flip these over. I think most of them I use like this. So I'm going to flip those over. And then we're going to repeat that again. So 3.25, and then rotate it around, and then three 1-inch strips. All right. And then this piece we're going to leave as is. We will come back and cut a little bit off. We're going to use this in several different ways. So this piece, this largest piece that you have, you're just going to set that aside for now. All right. So what you've got is you've got 8 pieces that measure 3 by 4.5, and you've got 6 pieces that measure 1 by 3.25. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and get started. Now I'm going to make the first two cards together because they are basically the same layout. That's another thing that I like to do when I do a one sheet wonder is I try to keep a lot of the elements the same. Because you're making a lot of cards, there's no point recreating the wheel each time that you make a card. All right, so because these are already scored for me, I'm just going to fold along the score line. Use my bone folder to make it nice and crisp. Oh boy, I got a little bit of red on there. That's okay. We'll just flip it over. All right. And then we'll line this one up. So what I do for one card, I will do for both cards. Okay. So we've got our two card bases. You can see here I've got two vellum circles. So I just punch these using a 2 3/8 inch circle punch. It's just a piece of vellum. You can use any size circle. It doesn't matter. It can be a die. It can be a punch. It can be whatever you'd like. And we're going to take two of our pieces here. Okay, and what I want to do is I want to figure out what elements because I used a different pattern, so it was a different hobby for the samples that I made. So I need to just kind of figure out what I want to use for my embellishing. So I have a few pieces left. Okay, let's slide these out of the way because we're going to use these two. So we're going to put these here, and then we're also going to use two of these strips. These are gonna go across like this is gonna go on here, but before I stick anything down, I wanna see what I've got left from that first sheet of die cut pieces. So I like to pop all the pieces out and then kinda keep them in a little cello bag, and I keep them in with my DSP until the DSP retires, and then I usually, um, will put them file them in a different way. Okay, so this is sewing related, so I'm gonna keep that out. This is kind of sewing related. I'll keep that out. This is sewing related. I'll keep that out. And then these are little buttons. These could come in handy. So I'm basically picking out anything that is kind of sewing related. Oh, here's another little button. I think there were three of these somewhere. This is sewing related. Well, there was another button here. There's some little hearts, which I could use. Okay, maybe not. All right. Okay. So I'm going to leave these out. Some I might come back and use some of those because I don't have to make everything sewing related. You'll see how I get around that. Okay, let's start with this. Okay, I like that. And then actually what I'm going to do with this would be nice if I took some linen thread and wrapped it around it. So I am going to grab some tape and I'm just going to take my linen thread and I'll tape it to the back of this. And I could do this with the twine that I was going to use, but this is just easier, or not the twine, the ribbon that I was going to use. So I'm just wrapping this around because this is actually meant to be like an embroidery floss kind of holder. All right, we'll wrap that around. We'll give this a little snip and then we'll tape it on the back so that it holds it in place. Actually, I think what might be fun instead is what if we did a little snip and then we feed that through to hold it. I'm hoping that that will stay. Maybe we'll add just a little bit of tape on the back just to make sure it holds. There, that's cute. I like that. All right. Okay, let's set that slide out of the way here. Okay, let's start adhering our pieces. So, adhesive, here we go. We'll start with this one. So now if you can do this one, this is a busier pattern and you could do it this way, but you could also do it this way so that you have the more busy pattern is just a smaller portion. You just see it just a little bit. And maybe I'll do one of each so that you can see the difference. So just add some multi-purpose glue to the center of that. This is going to go in the center of our card base. So now if you were doing this on a regular size card, you would just have a bigger border. Oh, and look at that. I already put that upside down. I meant to do it the other way. That's okay. All right, let's add this guy next. We'll pop that on there. And I purposely cut this one a little bit longer so that it would hang over the edge, but it is not the same width as the card. It's still a little shorter. Okay, this one we're going to add adhesive to this side. And we'll pop that on there like that. And then this one goes across like that. And then we'll add our vellum. But before we do that, I'd like to figure out how I'm going to position everything. So I want to stamp my greeting. And I think this, we kind of need a little bit of a cluster here. So I think we'll do those two things, even though the scale is a little bit off. Okay, so now I'm going to bring in just a scrap piece of white and I want to figure out what kind of cards I want to make these. So I think I'm going to do one as a birthday card for sure. So it would be a great birthday card for somebody who maybe loves to embroider or maybe quilt, um, or do any kind of fiber type crafting. So I think I'll do one as a birthday, and then we'll take the punch, and I'm going to use this top punch, which has a straight edge and then a flagged edge. And I'll just center that in there, getting a little bit of shadow. And then the other one we will do as a thank you card. So I'm going to stamp thanks a million. And we can put this away. Not a lot of stamping on the cards that we're making today. And for this one, I'm going to use, I think I'll use the same shape. I love that there's three different shapes to choose from on here. Well, they're all kind of the same shapes, but three different ends. So you can get one that is flagged on one end, one that's flagged on both ends, and then one that is more like an arrow on the end. Okay, so now we've got our greetings, and I think I might do the thanks a million on this one and the happy birthday on this one. Okay, and now what I've done is I've taken a 12-inch strip of the ribbon. So this is the braided trim. And what I love about this is you can separate it. So first of all, you can just separate it a little bit to make it wider. So you've got this beautiful wider kind of trim that you could put underneath your projects. All right, so you can make it even a little bit wider than that. So just separate it so there's a little bit of a gap in between there. But what I like to do is I actually like to separate the whole thing and use the fibers. So it's like having petal pink linen thread. So, and it actually comes apart quite easily. So I did part of it already. And you could even do something like this and do like a little tassel. That would be cute. So there's lots of different ways that you can use this. And like I said, this is on the clearance, on the last chance list. It is on sale. I don't remember how much it is, but okay. And the last chance list was updated at the beginning of this, I think on December 2nd. So you'll definitely want to check that out. There is some good stuff on there marked down. All right. So we've got it all separated. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take two fibers, so two threads, and we're going to tie a bow. Okay, and then this is one. I'm going to grab one more and I'm going to do the same thing because what we do for one card, we're doing for both cards. All right. Excuse me. I just need to grab a Kleenex here. I'm just getting over a cold. Okay. All right. So I'm going to figure out where I want to position this. That's going to go like that. And then this one, I think I might put on. No, I think I'm gonna do it on the same side. Okay, yeah, we're gonna do that. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is whenever I work with vellum, I like to build from the top down. When I'm working with cardstock or pattern paper, I usually build from the bottom up. But because vellum, you can see the adhesive through it, I like to give myself um, the option of where I put my adhesive. So doing it this way, I can figure out where it's going to be covered so that I can add my adhesive. So now I know that when I flip this over, I can add adhesive all over there and you're not going to see it. Okay, so I'll just add that on there and then pop this on here. And we'll just make sure our sewing machine is straight. And then I'm going to trim the ends on this just a little bit. And we are going to add this right here. So I'm going to put adhesive. And actually, I think I'm going to use a mini glue dot just because we're putting it on the vellum. So, and it's not, vellum is not very porous, so it will slide around quite a bit. So we're going to pop that on there. And then this was the thanks a million. So now I'm going to be strategic about my dimensionals, cut some pieces here. Okay. And I'm going to have a look. So I'm going to put a dimensional underneath here and then another one on the end because the rest is going to pretty much sit over top of something that's already raised. The other thing that I'm watching for when I go to adhere this is I don't want a whole bunch of, I don't want all my ends to line up. So you can see we've got our card base, we've got our thin layer, and then we've got our greeting. So I don't want my greeting to be lined up with this piece or to be lined up with this piece. I wanted it to be staggered. All right. So that is that card. And then this one, okay, so let's build. So that is going to go on, I think like that. So we are going to put this one flat. And this one I'm going to pop up. And I'm going to put my dimensionals above and below the twine so that it doesn't add extra bulk. Peel off the backing, add on there like that. And then we can add this to our card base. So again, now I can see where I can put my adhesive so it's not seen through to the front. So now when I do this, I just want to make sure that this is straight. And then we'll trim the ends on this piece. And we'll grab a mini glue dot. So I'm just using mini glue dots left over from a past kit. And this twine is going to go on here like that. And then again, we'll use pieces of a dimensional. So I'll do that. And then actually, I think I'm going to put a mini glue dot here because it's going to sit over top of this. And then I'm going to strategically position it on here. This time, I've got it staggered again. So it goes my card base, and then my greeting, and then my layer of DSP. So it doesn't matter how you position it. You can do it however you want. And you can line it up. Sometimes I will line it up with the edge of the card base as well, and that looks really good. But just kind of keep that in mind that you don't want everything all lined up. Okay, so now we're going to bring in our embellishments and we'll add some of these here. So I can add 3 of them on here like that. And then we'll do the same over here. Look at that. And I finished off a little sheet of those. All right. Okay. Now, another thing, we've got these strips here. So you can turn one of these into a gift card holder. So for example, here, actually, let me just do something here. Okay, so for example, this one, I turned this thank you card into a gift card holder, and I've got a little Starbucks gift card tucked in there. So all I did was just add adhesive here, and then you can slide it in there. And then you've got a cute little gift card holder. So these were the two that I created using the baking themed DSP. So you can see that, they're the same design. I just chose to use different pattern paper. All right. Okay, so I'm not sure that I want to turn this one into a gift card holder or this one. I have someone in mind to give this one to. So I don't want to turn it into a gift card holder. So I'm going to hold off on doing that because maybe I'll turn one of the other ones into a gift card holder. All right, so those are cards one and two. Oh, and the other thing that I was going to say, actually, you know what we'll do? We will let's do this instead. Instead of turning it into a gift card holder, let's add. So this is another way to use up some of your, well, I mean, one of these strips, but also some of your leftover little pieces. And then we're going to add these to the inside, these little buttons. Do that one there, there, and there. Isn't that cute? And that's just using leftover things that were sitting on our desk. Okay. So those were the first cards, and then we're gonna move on. The next one we're gonna do two more at a time. So two more, again, no cards and envelopes, but you don't have to use no cards and envelopes. You can take these ideas and use them on a standard size card. Okay. So this time, let me just grab the pieces out of here. Okay, this time I have no card and envelope, or sorry, no card, which is no card size if you're just joining us, is 3.5 by 5. I've got a 2 3/8 inch circle punched from vellum. And then I have another piece of vellum that measures, I think this is 2.5 by 4. All right. And for these cards, we're going to bring in two of our 3 by 4.5 inch pieces. So these two pieces are going to go on like that. Both of our cards are going to be horizontal cards. This is going to go on here, and this is going to go on here. And we're going to see what other elements we can use here. So I'm having a look at, let's see if I can bring this over without too many pieces falling out. Okay, I think I'm going to use this, and I might use this. And then I am also going to use this piece here. So this will be more for our skincare lovers. So I think I'm going to start with that and see how that goes. We don't need that. All right. And okay, so let's start. Actually, let's stamp our greetings first. Um, let's do again, happy birthday. It's always good to have lots of birthday cards on hand. We're gonna do happy birthday and then I can't thank you enough. Okay, so happy birthday and then I can't thank you enough. And again, I'm still using the same color ink pad. So just Secret C. This time for the happy birthday, I'm going to use the middle banner. So this one is flagged on both sides. I think that looks straight. And then this one, I'm going to go back to that top one again. So with the straight edge on the right and the flagged end on the left. Right, we'll move these little scraps off to the side. Okay, now we'll fold our card bases. I do find that the note cards and envelopes, even though they're scored, they are a little tricky to fold. They're a little stiff. Okay, so that's one, and then the other one. So if you are new to my channel, I would love to hear where you're watching from. And if you love one sheet wonders, I do have a one sheet wonder playlist where I always add all my one sheet wonders. I try to do a one sheet wonder maybe once every 6-ish weeks. Um, Sometimes it's once a month, like especially over the holidays, like preparing for Christmas. One sheet wonders are great for Christmas cards. So if you still have Christmas cards to make, this is a great thing to turn to is one of the one sheet wonders, even the one that I'm sharing today. You could easily replace this pattern paper with a Christmas themed pattern paper and whip up 7 Christmas cards using the ideas that I shared today. All right. Okay. Um, Thank you so much for joining me this morning. It's always nice to see that there's people watching, and then when I'm not sitting here talking to myself. So, welcome everyone. All right. So, I'm just adding dimensionals again to the back of my ephemera piece, and I'm going to add that to my vellum. So, I'm working down, and then we're going to take our multi-purpose glue and just add that on here. And then this is going to get centered on here like that. And then okay, this one we need to build a little bit. And I'm not sure I'm going to use this because these are circles and then this is kind of more of an oval shape. So I'm just going to see how I can make this work. If we did something like that, and then with this, actually that doesn't look too bad. Let's grab our fiber. So again, I'm going to take two threads and feed them through. And we'll just trim the ends so it's not quite so long. Yeah, I think that'll work. We're going to go ahead and do that. Okay, so I am going to pop up this piece and I'm going to put dimensionals only on the one side. Well, actually, I'm going to put it on all over. I'll put 3 on here, but I'm not going to peel the backing off of this one just yet because I want to stick it to my vellum. So my vellum is going to go a little bit more off to the right. And then let's make sure I have this going the right way. That's going to go on there like that. And then this will go on like that. So again, I'm going to put dimensionals down the one side. And then because this is going to sit over top of that raised bit, I'll just add a little multi-purpose glue. Okay. And what I'm looking for here is I don't want a little piece of vellum peeking through here. I want to cover that. I like that. That looks good. Okay. Now we can add adhesive here and I can peel off this backing because I'm ready to stick it down. And then we're just going to position this on here. I think that looks good. Our ladies look like they're straight. And this is going to go on here like that. So we'll use a mini glue dot for that. That one stuck to my, there we go. Oh, I think I want it down a little lower. Let's just fold it over there. All right. And then we need more dimensionals. One there, and then some liquid glue here. And I don't want to cover too much of my little pattern piece here. Might have to use a mini glue dot underneath there. We're sitting over top of the fiber. Make sure it's straight. Oh, that's not straight. There we go. Okay, so that's that one. And then this one, again, we're going to grab two fibers, tie a bow, and tweak it. When you've got multiple fibers like this, you just want to make sure that you're pulling all of the layers, like both layers or all of the layers, if there's multiple layers, at the same time. So you can see that I'm holding the knot and then I'm pulling both pieces to adjust. All right, and then we'll grab a mini glue dot for this. This is going to go right in here. And then our dimensionals, again, we're going to be strategic about where we place our dimensionals. So I just want to make sure. Okay, so my bottom is up here. Peel off the backing here, and this is going to go on here like that. All right, and then we'll finish it off with some of our low profile dots. Put three of them on there and do three on here. Let's do them this way. Okay, and then the other thing that we're going to do is we are going to take an envelope flap, and remember this big piece that we hadn't cut? We're going to take this and we're going to add it to one of these envelope flaps. So I'm just going to add a little bit of glue around my flap. So this will only work if you're working with note card size, because this is not big enough to put on a regular sized envelope. So we're going to put that on there like that. We're going to trim around the edge. And then we've got a fun coordinating envelope for one of our cards. And you could put this with any of the cards because we've used this DSP on all of them. And then we're going to set this piece aside. We're going to come back and we're still going to use that. But there we go. There are cards two and, or sorry, three and four. And then here's the other version. So this, I mean, they're very similar, just different pattern paper in the back. So this one is pretty much exactly the same. And then this one, I added a little teacup and a tea bag to that one. And I turned this one into a gift card holder. Oh, I actually turned both of them into a gift card holder. So I'm going to save my pieces and we'll use those little tiny pieces afterwards. We'll see where I want to add them. All right. Okay, moving on. Oh, and here's the decorated envelope. Okay, moving on to our last three cards. And actually, we're going to do two cards and then I'll save the last one because it's a little bit different. So now we're moving on to full-sized cards. So this is 5.5 by 8.5, scored at 4 1/4. So a regular medium size envelope or card. And I've gone ahead and I've embossed a panel. So this measures 4 by 5 1/4. And I've embossed them using the exposed brick embossing folder, but you can use any embossing folder. So if you were not doing um, note card size, you could do this idea because obviously when you put, let me share here. I grab one of these panels and you're doing a full-size card, you've got a little bit of a bigger white border on there, right? Which isn't a bad thing. That still works just fine. But if you wanted a little something extra, you could add an embossed panel in behind there. So you could do that for any of the cards that I've already shared. All right. Okay, so we're going to fold our card bases first. Okay, so we've got that. And we're going to go ahead and add our embossed pieces. So I did both with the same embossing folder. I love this embossing folder. It's probably, I would probably say it's my most used embossing folder. I love it. Add this one to this card so that we've got about an eighth of an inch all the way around. And then we're going to add this and this, and we're going to stamp our greeting next. Greetings. Let's put the cap on this. And we are going to do the word celebrate. So these are all from the same stamp set. Banner Sayings, I think it's called. For those of you who kind of missed the beginning of the video, this is, yeah, Banner Sayings is the stamp set. I love it because there's so many different greetings that you can use in there. So we're going to stamp celebrate and then we're going to stamp thanks a million. All right. And we need our punch. And both of these are going to get punched using the middle banner shape, which is the one with the flagged end on both sides. Hopefully I left enough space. And celebrate. Actually, celebrate. Excuse me. I think the celebrate I might do with this one. A little bit of a shorter word. I did use it for the other one, but you'll see how I decorated the other one. Okay. All right. So now because we're using this backside, we can use any of our ephemera pieces to decorate this. So let's see what we've got here. Let me pull in these extra pieces first. So we've got some leaves here. We could use some leaves. Even something as simple as that is cute. I do want something a little bit taller. These ones are white. So what you can do with these ones is you could take your Stampin' Blends and color them in, and make them match whatever it is that you're working on. Okay, I think that's it from that. So then I'm not going to bring over this whole sheet again just because it's falling apart. I'm going to choose my pieces and I'll show you what. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing as I did before. So there's this great easel and an, a paint palette. So we're going to use those two. And let's see. Okay, I think we're going to stick with that. All right, again, keeping it really simple. I'm going to grab my two pieces of thread, tie a bow. So if I was to replicate this not in the form of a video, so if I was just doing these to make more cards myself, what I would do is I would do all of my card bases and then do all of my layers and then do all of my bows. I would do everything because like mass producing, that's the fastest way to do that is to kind of do it assembly line style. What you're doing for one card, do for all of the cards. and then I'd figure out my focal points, and then I'd adhere all my focal points. So I kind of work in that kind of format. But because I'm doing this in a video for you guys, it's probably easier for you guys to watch it this way with just a couple cards at a time. I do have a full blog post on tips on mass producing cards as well. Maybe I'll try to remember to link it in the description below. All right, so let's go ahead and create our little clusters. So we'll add these layers. This one. There's so many elements on these papers that could be fussy cut as well and used to create your embellishment clusters. All right, so we've got that. And then this guy's going to go on flat right there. And then we're going to add a bow. And I'm going to use multi-purpose glue for this because this is just on pattern paper. So like that. And then our greeting, we'll use some dimensionals for that. So we don't have anything that's popped. Well, there is the knot on the bow that's popped up, but as long as this is sitting over top, that's going to go like that. And then our little paint palette is going to go on here. I feel like we need to move this down. So I use the longer punch on the on my sample that I made, but it's okay if that because that will sit over there. So it'll still work. All right, so we're gonna put a dimensional here and another little piece of a dimensional kind of up here. And that's gonna go on there like that. Super cute. We'll add our embellishments to that afterwards. So for this one, I'm gonna take my bone folder and I'm just gonna kind of curl this up a little bit. I'm gonna add a dimensional here, but then I'm gonna add flat adhesive here and no adhesive here so that when I put this on my card, I do want to be mindful that this doesn't hang off the edge. Then it's got the dimension. So I love having that stick off like that and not having it completely flat. I feel like it gives it movement. Okay, and then this is going to go on here. We're going to make these loops just a little bit bigger. That might be a bit too big. And we'll use a mini glue dot for this. And then that'll go on there. And then we'll add dimensionals to the back of this. The cards are just so simple, but I think they're very pretty. All right, we'll bring in our dot. Oop, there we go. Isn't that a cute little simple thank you card? Let's see. Yeah, we'll put it there. All right. And there we go. So there is, what is this? 5 and 6? Yeah, 5 and 6 because we got one card left. And then here are the other samples. So this one I did more sewing base. So I used I don't know what that's called. It's not a mannequin. There is a word for it. I can't remember what it's called. And the little pin cushion. And then here is the other one with the easel. All right. Okay. Moving on to our last card. And we have, let me share what pieces we have left. So we've got two of these pieces, we've got three of these, and we've got this piece. All right. So I'm going to bring in my card base. So this is another standard size card base. I'm just using thick, basic white for this. And we're going to use both of these pieces and we're going to layer them. I'm going to put them at an angle like that. And then, okay, so we've got the sewing one for this. So I think we might use this guy on here and we'll use the pin cushion. And we will make it let's see. Should we make it a birthday card? We'll make it a birthday card. We'll stamp happy birthday. All right. With these small little greetings, you do want to be careful not to push too hard because otherwise your words are going to end up blurry and you don't want that. Or it kind of distorts them. It makes them a little thicker in areas. So a gentle tap to ink and a gentle tap and positioning to stamp onto your cardstock. All right. Now we are going to pop this up using some dimensionals. Add a couple here. And then some little pieces down here. And see these pieces, I'm just going to trim these off. All right. And then this is going to go on here like that. And we'll grab our pieces of twine, tie our bow, trim, add a mini glue dot, and we'll go about there. And then we'll add some dimensionals to this. It's always hard to see if it's straight when your layers are crooked. And then we'll add a dimensional to the back of this. And this is going to get tucked underneath here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fill in this space here. So I'm going to move this out of the way so it sits over top, and then we'll position that there like that. We'll finish it off with some of our gems. Okay, and then what we're gonna do is we're gonna take this, we're gonna bring in our paper trimmer, we're gonna trim this so that it's straight. So this is the only waste from our DSP. We're gonna use all of the rest of the DSP. I'm gonna cut this down to 4 inches, set that aside. This is going to get used inside here. You can use it as a gift card holder, but I am just going to add it to the top, centering it so I have that white border on the two sides and the top. And then we did the sewing theme for this. So let's see what else I've got. Just need something little. Let's see what I've got here. Oh, we've got a couple of these buttons. Let's use these buttons again. Okay, so I'm going to add these to the inside. All right, so there's that. And then here is the other one that I created using the green DSP. Okay, so now what we need to do is we need to finish off these pieces. So this is where we will take these pieces and use them on the inside. So here I added another little ephemera piece on the inside. So I think I will do that for one of these. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take this piece and I'm going to add it here. And then this is a crafty themed one. So let's take this and we'll add this to the inside. So using these little ephemera pieces are great for the insides of your cards as well. It helps you use them up. Okay, so this one I had flagged this piece. So let's flag this piece. So I'm just going to trim up the middle and then from either side or from both sides, I'll trim up to that center bit. We'll bring in this card and we can add this to the inside. And which one is this? This is the leaf. There are a couple leaves in here, but I think what I'm going to do is I might just take just a little heart and add just a little heart in there. Let's do it right at the bottom here. All right, so that's that one. And we've got these two pieces left. So let's see, we don't have anything added here. For this one, this is another sewing one. I don't think I have too much left for sewing themed things, but we can just take this and add it down the side. We do have this little plant pot. That might be cute in there. Let's do that. Add that in there. All right, and then one left. So let's see here. We've got this one. Let's do the same thing for this one. There isn't a whole lot that is kind of, as far as ephemera, there's not a whole lot that has like the skincare kind of. This is really the only one, I think. But let's see here. We've got this little tab. This could be cute. Oh, I don't think I like that. All right, let's see. What else have we got? Okay, let's use this. We've got this little piece here. So this is just a little banner piece. And we will just use this like that. All right, and there we go. All of our cards are done. We used an entire piece of 12 by 12 pattern paper. The only scrap left was just this little tiny piece here. So let me pull out the cards and show you the cards all together. All right, so we had this one and this one. So those were the first two that we created. And then here is the baking version of those. And then we had this one and this one. And here are the other two versions of those. So that guy goes with that. And then this one goes with this one. And then we had our embossed ones. So the ones with the embossed layers. We have that one and that one. And that one and that one. And then we had the one where we used both sides of the DSP. So there we go. So I've used 2 sheets of 12 by 12 double-sided pattern paper, and I've got 14 cards here. All of them are kind of thank you, celebrate, happy birthday themed, but you could make them any theme. If you wanted to make Christmas, you could use Christmas paper and make them Christmas cards if you still have Christmas cards left to make. So hopefully this inspired you to pull out a sheet of pretty pattern paper and to do a one sheet wonder. Like I said, I will link to my One Sheet Wonder playlist in the description below so that you can refer to that if you're looking for other One Sheet Wonder ideas. And if you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. And if you aren't yet following me, hit that subscribe button so that you won't miss out on any future videos. All right. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, and we'll see you next time.